What's up guys, SkyKevin here, and today we're talking about the current state of Last Oasis as of May 2021. I've been waiting a while to do this update video because honestly, I've been hoping things would turn around, but it's been a couple of months now and I really can't put it off much longer. So, let's get started. LO has, for the past year, in my opinion, been improving when it comes to fixing bugs, optimization, and many of the broken mechanics, such as flame fans or gas bombs. Unfortunately, with this most recent update and the new season, I am left devastated at what it's become. Obviously, there was going to be some pushback with the new realm system, but I wanted to give it a shot and see how it would affect many of the smaller groups and their opinion of how the game is going. Further, the content updates themselves have been pretty lackluster in substance, and they don't fill the void that this game has had for content, and indeed exacerbated things by adding needless timescales and limitations to the player-to-player interactions as a whole. The biggest thing I've noticed this season is the overall 180 direction the developers have taken in terms of the game's overall goals and mechanics. When Last Oasis launched, it was supposed to be an MMO with large-scale walker-to-walker battles and skill-based directional melee combat. It was, in my opinion, designed entirely for groups to roam on walkers like houseboats with weaponry from oasis to oasis, until eventually two groups would collide in an all-out battle with everything at stake. That was my vision of LO from day one, and I know mechanically and behaviorally it isn't the case, but it sure would have been nice if we pursued that vision. Nowadays, when playing LO, there's pretty much a standard formula. Keep anything of value locked down in a stone base or walker in the lobby. Grab a wingsuit or a raptor walker with nothing on it and roam around until you catch some player farming alone on their walker. This to me is the number one killer of this game. I've brought this up time and time again in previous videos, that ratting has become all you can do in Last Oasis. The player with less to lose always wins in the end, because no matter what, they can just run away if they need to. So now, in the case of using walkers, they're completely out of the question. They're too easy to see, too hard to defend, and they have no real advantage of speed or durability or maneuverability over any of the other smaller walkers or over players with wingsuits and firebombs in hand. The realm system also didn't help in this case, as it completely split the player base. I think absolutely everyone can agree that this was a bad idea, and it has shown that it doesn't work. None of the realms are populated with enough players, and those that remain talk about how there isn't any content anymore. It used to be that the large clans from NA West would travel to NA East to fight each other, or from EU to NA or OCE to South America, and etc. This dynamic is completely gone, and adding a time frame and wipe schedule for realms, well, that just makes the entire game a grind for tech that no one wants to do. Why would you level your character up just to have it deleted a month later? This is the idea of a long-form battle royale style game like Rust, not an MMO with politics and territory control like what LO is supposed to be. The system of limiting players by group size like that doesn't work. You need to have spaces for the small groups to farm and grow and unlock tech, but still allow them to join in with the big guys when they hear that a fight is going down a few tiles away. That's how you can get to a dynamic where two large clans are fighting with a Titan and a Falco and Hornet Walker, and meanwhile the small satellite groups are coming in on stilettos and dinghies to have some fun amongst the chaos. You could even put in an alliance or settler status to help them team up against the bigger guys if you need to. But when your game has half of its walkers that are meant for groups of 10 to 20 plus people, why on earth would you even consider making a solo or 5-man player capped server where that's the case? All this content is irrelevant to the game because you're limiting that player-to-player interaction with the realm system. As I've said in my previous videos, keep everyone on the same world map, but separate them by zones. Make a border that costs flots to cross every time a clan wants to go to that area, and limit them with whatever hardships you want for being above that player base cap. Essentially incorporate an invisible dotted line that if the big groups cross it, they have real actionable consequences to deal with. Maybe even hard caps if it's possible for the developers to do, but something that keeps everyone playing together like a real MMO should. If you play Last Oasis now, you're not going to see someone roaming around on a Schmetterling because it's the easiest walker to swing around on a grapple endlessly, and you'll eventually end up losing the entire walker due to one player endlessly grappling while another instantly places ballistas on the ground using basic materials, otherwise known as a pocket ballista, to shoot out your legs or wings or any other compartment on board. I'll say this once again, I made a video with a simple solution. Remove stamina recovery while your character's in the air. There's no reason anyone should be able to wingsuit or grapple endlessly and never have to touch the ground. Yet, this problem has grown and grown to the point where all you're going to see if you log into LO right now are dinghy and raptor walkers everywhere. That's literally all the player base wants or needs to function right now, because anything else that they use just ends up being a burden of defense. I've harped on this before, and it's an establishing game concept that is all but forgotten from the devs. Players need something to defend. They need to have some kind of risk associated when they're fighting the enemy on both defensive and offensive situations. If either side doesn't have a walker and they're just wingsuiting around, there is no guaranteed fight and no catalyst to make them fight, and it devolves to swinging around randomly trying to get a lucky hit off on the enemy. Once they die, they just go get another basic kit of gear and go out and do it all over again. So there really is no winning against the strategy. Now, you might say that this is a good thing because it stops large groups from bullying the smaller ones and gives that solo player a fighting chance. But honestly, all it does is prevent real group PvP from happening. There's no magnetism that forces two characters to fight over that common ground, not when all they have to risk is whatever's in their inventory and they can just grapple away. My entire experience with this season of LO so far has simply been fighting when I'm at an advantage, and then grappling away if I'm outnumbered. It's honestly boring. If I can just jump away and bandage every time I get hit, yeah, I'll never die. And in many fights, I've been outnumbered 5-1, but been completely fine with it, because I can always just move onto a ledge somewhere and heal if I get hit once. As long as I don't get one shot, I really have nothing to worry about. This isn't engaging, and this isn't fun. Thinking back to Season 1, players used walkers for transportation, not wingsuits. They would fight each other from walker to walker, using repeaters and ballistas that were on the walker. With the new introduction of the Raptor Walker, they've just broken everything. I don't mean they've introduced a bunch of new bugs, I mean they literally broke what the game was all about. You can just fly now, no matter what it is you're doing. Chances are you can probably just do it off of the Raptor Walker. I mean, you can even shoot floating mines off the back of it if you really want. It completely breaks everything the game stood for, about roaming a desert oasis, never knowing what's going to be on the other side of that sand dune. Is it fun? The Raptor Walker is an absolute blast to use, just like wingsuits are fun to use. But do they contribute to the overall gameplay of LO? And do they actually add to the experience? I don't think so. I think they completely take away all the hardships, all the new experiences and encounters and situations that you might find yourself in. They don't really exist if you have a Raptor Walker and wingsuit in hand. You can basically farm until you get to that point. Once you have all the necessary resources and tech, then you just roam around in the sky looking to jump down on some unsuspecting player and get into a fight that doesn't even really matter in the first place. Sure, it's fun in the moment, but completely antithetical to the real content that this game needs and the overlying game design itself. Speaking of content, the new Cali Spire maps are disappointing. They're mostly made up of many assets that were already in the game and just very barren when it comes to what you're doing. I tried exploring one of these areas and found 2 or 3 loot boxes amongst a bunch of sparsely populated rupus and long, empty, winding pathways. It was nothing special, and by no means would you really bother farming there because everything was so spread out. There needs to be a system of objective and reward associated with this stuff. I pictured it initially as being some sort of sky dungeon, and indeed they did a good job making the outer rock face of it unable to be grappled, but where it falls short again is the content of it. Why not have large arenas filled with a bunch of different types of rupus to make it a bit of a challenge instead of a bunch of now incredibly frustrating flame-throwing ones? It just doesn't hit the mark when it comes to a real content update and the rollout of it was so slow. We're talking literally months before they actually released the map with any of the new content after the new season update. This led to a lot of attrition from the player base. My clan literally quit before the worm update even had a chance to come out. And now with the raptor walkers in the game, it's basically a joke of an encounter anyways. Once again, get your wingsuits out, folks, because that's all you need to take down this malevolent creature. Lastly, I wanted to end this video on a positive note, because quite clearly I've been very critical of the game so far. The new addition of the random spawning asteroids on a map was a great idea. I like the fact that nomads just happening by can find something with extremely rare iron ore and meteor cores, and may even have the chance to fight whoever's nearby in the area at the time. I also like the concept of meteor cores. Making walkers harder to craft and thus having more value associated with them by requiring rare resources that wouldn't be so much of a grind is a nice touch. Lastly, I like the increased armor type of walker legs and wings because it does incentivize bringing another real walker into the fight to try and take them out. At this point, this is really just a plea, a short list of some of the things that I think would bring LO back from the dead and make it a fantastic game. Not everyone's going to agree with me on this, but from a design standpoint, I think it's worth mentioning to maybe get people playing again. First, get rid of the realm system. Add server caps on one large realm. Then remove the raptor walker altogether and make stamina only recover when a character is on the ground. Make Rupu loot more enticing with random rare drops and a better variety of basic resources instead of just fiber and stone from all of those pots. Make larger walkers genuinely better than smaller ones, maybe even by adding trample and ramming mechanics back into the game, and add more random events to a map, like a King of the Hill situation with walkers, or maybe even a bounty or target quest for hunting hostile players. Add rare random creatures to the game that don't show up all the time and have some kind of excitement factor for useful resources that you might get. Maybe even just make the Kali Spire maps more dynamic with more variations on Rupus, Rupu camps, and their loot. More loot boxes would also be nice so that it's actually worth spending your time farming there for resources. Now, these are just a few of the ideas I have off the top of my head that I think could really improve the game and round out many of the aspects of what makes it fun. If you have anything that you would like to see for the changes, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below, as well as whether you're still playing the game or waiting for the next season to hopefully be better. In the meantime, I am going to keep making videos for LO and hopefully come out with more science-based ones once the dev kit for private servers comes out. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content, as well as some of the other games too. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Prepare the cactus fruit into a powder and place it under your tongue. You will see visions of ancient wisdom.